Hi, welcome to Laura's View and Tarot 2. I am really glad you're here. Today's date is Monday, July 10th, 2023. In this video, I would like to take a look at something we are told we should be very fearful of and worried about, and that is climate change. I've got a compilation I've composed on Facebook. It's more of a hodgepodge. And I'm going to take you to a share screen so you can see some of the elements of that hodgepodge. And then we're going to do a read about climate change. Okay, just a second. Let me get to the share screen for you. This is a meme that was back in March based on an actual quote here by Melissa Fleming. She assured everyone that they own the science on climate change and they have worked with Google to make sure the algorithms show only UN information. That is now so true. I've been following climate change items since 2018, and the algorithms have changed, even on other search engines, unfortunately. So that bothered me. Why do they need to change so that only the UN narrative shows? Why not have just the facts show in the order that they're, popularly searched? Okay, so my first item for you is, Before It's News had this in June 29th. 10 reasons why climate change is a complete hoax and Ponzi scheme run by the globalists and DC Democrats. I think we know now why the UN is making sure only their talking points come up in searches. Now, their 10 list was kind of interesting. Climate change was called global warming for decades until the rising temperature charts were proven fake. Oh, so they falsified information to try to make their point true. Where have we seen that before with a certain malady, right? The oceans were not rising at the shorelines and the glaciers were not receding at the poles. Electric vehicles actually utilize more fossil fuel and energy to run the charging stations, build them, and manufacture the vehicles. The entire agricultural and transportation industries would implode if they had their way and imposed only the green agenda. Okay. This is interesting. There are not more natural storms than ever before, including tornadoes, hurricanes, tsunamis, typhoons, earthquakes, etc. I'm not going to read the other 5, but let's go back to my compilation. This was from today. The Met Office of Science has been adjusting old temperature records. That's a nice way of saying that they are falsifying more information to bolster up the climate change narrative. The adjustments go both directions before 1970. From 1970 to 2003, they were made markedly colder. So again, falsifying them. And from 2003 on, they're making them markedly hotter. That's today. Okay, here's something interesting from Not a Straight Answer, NASA. Remember when NASA acknowledged climate change occurs because of changes in Earth's solar orbit, not because of SUVs and fossil fuels? Okay, now I don't have any regard for NASA. So you can take that article with a grain of salt. But anyway, there we go. Then, oh, this is interesting. This was the Greenpeace founder, okay? He says his mission is to turn around the idea that carbon dioxide is a pollutant and somehow dangerous, when in fact, it's the most important nutrient for all life on Earth, and without it, this would be a dead planet. So when they talk about rising CO2 levels, okay, why is that a bad thing? Oh, I want to go back to the share screen. There was one more item, so forgive me for that. Okay, now Rose Rambles has a, I don't think it's too recent, but it was so relevant. Yeah, this is from last December 2022. Climate change and carbon dioxide, a nice article about it. Okay, they discuss what have no fear of global warming nowadays. This climate change is not true. It's dressed up as science, but it's not science at all. It's propaganda. And this is interesting. True statistic here. Okay, according to Greta Thunberg, even at 1 degree of warming, we are seeing an unacceptable loss of life and livelihoods. Here is a nice statistic that can be found from the International Disaster Database. Okay, deaths from climate and non-climate catastrophes from 1920 to 2017. In 1920, here were climate-related deaths. Currently, we're here. That's not a steep rise. And then the non-climate related deaths have varied based on world events and what have you. So there we have it, folks. Climate change. Now here's something that I maintain. This is a Laura's View item. I take it as fact that we own weather manipulation, equipment, technology. I also believe that it's not only in the hands of the White Hats and Alliance, although I do believe they have the means to mitigate or dial down any nefarious activity that happens with the weather. So I maintain that since we cannot parse out the weather manipulation, which is being used by the deep state to wreak havoc on our crops, to move forward with their agenda of depopulation, and to bolster up their false science and their falsified science about climate change. Remember, those temperatures have been falsified now recently. Okay, but between that and eco-terrorism, because we know that only 11% of the recent Canada fires were naturally caused. 89% were man-made. Eco-terrorism for the bulk of it. Sometimes it was just a campfire that might have got away from someone, but the bulk of them were deliberately set. And headlines said, despite those arrests, they're still blaming that whole scenario on climate change. So I maintain that because they never have even made an effort to acknowledge, much less, like I said, parse out how eco-terrorism and weather manipulation have anything to do with the weather fluctuations that people are seeing. Because if you make sure that an area, like when I was in Alaska, in the northern latitudes, it used to be very uncommon to get thunderstorms. The last few years, we've had some, and everybody yelled climate change, but nobody looked at climate manipulation. That maybe because they were sending a jet stream down here, something else happened there. That maybe it was just latched onto as proof of climate change because an unusual weather pattern that used to not happen was starting to happen. And I've heard that from more and more people in different areas of the country. Well, it never used to do X, Y, or Z, but now it does. So maybe there's something to climate change. So what I want to do today with the cards, I want to ask the universe, because the universe has a universal view, a much higher view than we do. I want to ask the universe to give us an idea of whether weather manipulation and eco-terrorism are huge contributing factors to this climate change agenda, and other information or insights the universe wants us to know about the issue of climate change, which used to be global warming until they couldn't prove it and found out they were hoaxing it. I personally call climate change summer, fall, winter, spring. But let's see what the universe has to say, because I don't think anybody's bothered to ask this question. To what degree, if any, does eco-terrorism and man-made weather manipulation, to what degree is that impacting what we're seeing for climate fluctuations or change, and other insights and information? Let's go. Let's find out. Let's do this. Okay, inquiring minds want to know. Is eco-terrorism and weather manipulation a contributing fact of the climate change fluctuations that we're seeing or are reported? and other insights and information about it, if so. Our first card, Knight of Pentacles. Seven of Pentacles. Lots of money involved with climate change, isn't it? Five of Cups. Eight of Swords. Two of Cups. Seven of Cups. And Eight of Pentacles. Okay, well, let's talk about these cards, folks. We haven't got a hard yes, but we've got a yes here. And I was expecting one. I wasn't expecting that I would hear that eco-terrorism and weather manipulation by technology and machinery and man-made wasn't impacting the situation. Okay, the Knight of Pentacles is a very steadfast energy and also often associated with our military. So I think what we're being told here is that the white hats, again, yes, like I was saying, I think they're making an effort to mitigate some of the huge weather fluctuations that people with a control agenda and evil are trying to have happen. Okay, this is a lot of man-made effort here. Okay, so that's not natural. That wouldn't be the suit we would have for natural events. And yeah, so the man-made elements of weather manipulation and eco-terrorism are having an effect, not as much as they wanted, but they are having an effect. Although all of that's being attributed to we poor people who eat beef and drive cars that are fueled by gasoline, which is not a fossil fuel, in my opinion. I believe in that. Okay, now, recent past. We have the Five of Cups. That is a card of emotions and it's a card of sadness. Okay. And this sadness has to do with the fact that, again, there's been some interventions. They haven't been as successful in manipulating the weather and getting buy-in, despite the fact that they are working with Google so that the algorithms only show one narrative. But despite the fact that they're changing data points to try to prove their point, they're getting found out and called out and talked out about it. Okay. Now, here's something interesting. This card, the Eight of Swords. Yes, there's a little bit of waiting involved here, but it's voluntarily. All you have to do is lift that and walk away. So the truth is out there. It's right in front of us. All we have to do is be willing to see it. And I, for one, am willing to look at reality in a very real way. And I hope you folks are too. Okay, now let's look at the near future. All right, with the near future, we're getting told that the effort's going to continue, okay? They're going to still do a lot of look here, not there. It's this cause, not that cause. You're the fault. You people are at fault because you chose to eat meat, because you won't eat bugs, because you're, not entirely plant-based, because, we know all the things they're trying to guilt and fear us about, okay? So their efforts are going to continue, but not have as much success. In fact, we're looking at a time in the future, this is our near future, where this is going to be irrelevant and behind us. It absolutely is. Okay, here's why. 17th major arcana, the star. Okay, we've got that sky event that is on the way. We are in the midst of ascending, and that is making a change. And lower vibrational intentions, manipulations, and beings are just finding it harder and harder to successfully do their shenanigans and impose their doctrines and control on us. Ace of Swords, got our yes again. So yes, these are factors that need to be factored in and haven't been, and deliberately haven't been. Let's get two more cards. King of Wands, card of wisdom and leadership, and the Sun. Okay, so we've got some big changes happening to our world that are going to make these manipulations we're having to live with right now irrelevant. Absolutely. Okay, let's recap. I took a look today for the first time in a video at climate change. And my compilation had everything from a meme to some genuine statistics, some from even today. So we have evidence within those items that were in my compilation that there's been manipulation of search engines so that no opposing viewpoints are found and only the UN or control doctrine is shown. That there has been a change in weather data to bolster up the climate change narrative, falsifying and rewriting our history, and the list goes on. So I said, I've never heard anyone factor in eco-terrorism and weather manipulation because we have that technology and have had for decades, and both sides have it. So I said, and the dark elements of our world are using it to bolster up their claim of climate change and to wreak havoc and to disrupt supply chains and food production. And I do believe that the good guys are doing what they can to mitigate that, divert it. That's why if you watch some of these tornadoes, they just kind of miraculously get downsized and they're not quite the category they were going to be. And, so there's some nice countermeasures happening with our weather, but nobody's factored that into the climate fluctuations we are seeing. How many of those are man-made because of trying to get people to accept that narrative and have climate change fears? And it's pretty significant according to what the cards had to say. We got that there's been a lot of hard work going into climate change to making it look like that's what's happening. And nicely, those players doing that, trying to use weather manipulation and eco-terrorism to further their climate change agenda and control and depopulate us, they're not very happy because it's not working out as well, as fast as they want. Now, looking in the future, we had some really nice cards showing us, it's not going to matter. We're coming to a place where it isn't going to matter. And then when I got into kind of my bonus cards, the farther down the line, what other insights? We got our huge yes here. We got our star card, which depending on the type of read in politics, often for me, that indicates the organization 17, but it's definitely a card of hope. And it's a card that indicates when there's celestial events that are on the horizon. So if you're hearing talk that our world is ascending, that we are going through a change in our systems, ourselves, our planet, it's absolutely true. And good, we're going to be very glad. The changes are going to make life more valued, more precious. And these hoaxers and these controllers, they're going to continue to have less and less success. So I love it. I love it. Let's keep waking up. Let's keep pushing back. Let's keep thinking for ourselves. Let's keep realizing that there's often more to the story. And sometimes we can find out a little more about that more to the story by asking the tarot cards, because they will impartially provide some a view from a very high altitude that can help us shed a little light on subjects or get further insights. I love it. Absolutely do, or I wouldn't be doing this. So before I go, I do want to remind you, this coming Sunday is the third Sunday of the month. We will be doing a live stream here on YouTube. We will be doing a live stream meditation. It starts at 2 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. over in London. And in my announcement and in the post I'll have about this, I always have a time and date calculator so you can find it. It's always at the same time. Now, the focus for this month's meditation, we are going to collectively join our energy with the intent of transmuting negative or detrimental ingredients that are in big pharma items, transmuting them to neutral or even beneficial. For every living person who has those ingredients in them or has to use big pharma, if they aren't going to make sure that they provide a pure and beneficial product, we're going to ask the universe to make sure that, to remove anything negative, anything nefarious, anything not helpful in any big pharma product, to transmute it to something beneficial or even just neutralize it, send it away. I think it's an important topic for us to focus our energy on. It won't take long. Even the longest one we do go no more than 30 minutes. So if you'd like to contribute your energy to that, we welcome you. And it's non-denominational. You can come from just an interest in seeing if there's anything to the meditation, how it is. If you come from a faith-based system, so you're praying or intentioning, through a faith system that works for you, or, if you're just feeling like you're called to do this because you're a good human and you want to contribute good energy to good causes, it's all great with me. So that's it for this video. Until next time, I send you love and light and everything bright. Bye.